Up with KREM begins now.
Good morning. Welcome to Up with KREM. 6 o'clock here as we kick off a brand new week. A lot of people headed back to school today and back to work after the holidays. Hope you had a great holiday break. Let's start off this morning with Nicole Hernandez filling in for meteorologist Thomas Patrick. And Nicole, we're calling for a weather impact alert for several days this week.
Yeah, Tim, we've got some snow moving its way in, which is crazy to say because I feel like we really haven't seen much. And when I say I feel like, I know. Our meteorologist Michelle Boss says here in Spokane, we have seen less than 6 inches of snow all winter so far. That is changing a little bit this morning for some of us out in North Idaho. A band of snow is moving its way through. Lookout Pass could get 1 to 3 inches from this band here, but it's really not impacting anyone except past the Silver Valley and beyond into Montana, and that's going to continue moving its way out this morning. The Palouse as well getting a little bit of rain, but it should be moving out there too. By about 10 o'clock, we're totally dry through the region, and this afternoon we even see the sun come out. We warm up to about 40 degrees, and that's the warmest will be for the next few days.
Here's a live look at the traffic impact this morning from I-90 and Liberty Lake. Off to a good start here on this Monday morning. No issues as you head out the door. But again, don't forget, today people are headed back to work and school for the first time for many people after the holidays. So you may see more vehicles out on the roadways this morning. We'll keep a close eye on traffic and let you know if there's any problem spots. On Up with KREM, we do bring you weather and traffic together every 30 minutes. In a matter of hours, former Venezuela dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife are expected to be arraigned in a New York courtroom on narco-terrorism-related charges. The two were captured during a military operation in Venezuela and transported to the U.S. over the weekend. CBS News' Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
Venezuela's former president Nicolas Maduro is behind bars in this Brooklyn detention center. Soon, he and his wife, Celia Flores, are expected to make their first appearance in a Manhattan federal court on drug, weapons, and narco-terrorism charges. On Saturday, the U.S. military carried out the operation that led to their capture.
We're in charge.
The president faced new questions Sunday over who's running Venezuela.
Venezuela right now is a dead country. We have to bring it back, and we're going to have big investments by the oil companies.
Venezuela's new interim president, former Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, issued a statement calling for peaceful coexistence. President Trump says she's cooperating, though in an interview with The Atlantic, he also warned, quote, if she doesn't do what's right, she is going to pay a very big price.
As the Trump administration and Justice Department lawyers prepare for court here today, there's a different reaction on Capitol Hill, where some lawmakers are now slamming the Venezuela operation as illegal.
The Constitution is really pretty clear that the representatives of the people get to be consulted and ultimately approve military activity.
Multiple sources familiar tell CBS News White House officials are expected to give a classified briefing to lawmakers later this afternoon. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Washington lawmakers have mixed reactions to the strikes and Maduro's capture. U.S. Representative Michael Baumgartner said the strikes would bring Venezuelan oil back online, adding that would be positive for the global economy.
And so what we want from Venezuela is a country that is not a host to Iran and Hezbollah, is a country that is not a narco-trafficking country, a country that is producing oil for the global market, and a country that is a friend and ally of the United States. So those are behaviors that need to be demonstrated.
Meantime, U.S. Senator Patty Murray posted this statement saying, quote, if this escalates into a prolonged conflict, the American people do not want to be dragged into another costly foreign war with no real justification. She went on to call the strikes outrageous and an affront to American taxpayers. In Idaho, the chair of the Idaho Democratic Party, Lauren Necochea, wrote in a statement, quote, Americans opposed military action in Venezuela and believe the president needed to seek congressional approval first. Instead of heeding the wise concerns of Americans, the president illegally pushed our nation into what's likely to be an expensive, deadly, drawn-out conflict, she said. Idaho Senator Mike Crapo released a statement sharing, quote, the arrest and indictment of Maduro is welcome news, calling the operation a, quote, critical step towards restoring democracy and stability in the region. Across the Northwest, people held protest over the weekend. This was the scene out in Seattle. Protesters holding signs saying no war and stop the bombings. Meanwhile, in Boise, nearly 100 people gathered outside the Idaho State Capitol, holding signs and voicing their frustration with the situation. Meanwhile, in Florida, some Venezuelans were celebrating, sharing it felt like a, quote, light at the end of the tunnel. People at the rally thanking President Trump. Time now here at home. This week, Shoshone County plans to keep the sheriff's and driver's license offices closed this week. Right now, they are doing repairs and planning on opening up next week, January 12th.
Holy.
New video into our newsroom from the shooting at the Shoshone County Sheriff's Office. A KREM 2 viewer shared this with us. They say they live nearby and heard gunshots. At this time, police are still not sure what the motive was for the shooting. We do know the 3 people who were hurt in the shooting are all recovering well. Well, with the new year underway, students at Adams Elementary School will be making the move to a temporary campus while their new school will be built. KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones live from Spokane South Hill. And Brandon, this is a project that's been years in the making. Tell us more about what's next for the project. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim. Well, yeah, those students returning from winter break this morning, a little bit later this morning, and they're going to be starting this new semester right here behind us at the old Jefferson Elementary School and what they're now currently calling Camp Adams. So they'll finish out the school year here at Camp Adams and will be located here for the foreseeable future as construction starts to take place over at the historic Adams. In terms of that history, Adams was the oldest school here in Spokane. It was built in 1909, expanded in 1917, and again, the temporary site only about 2 miles west of the original campus. A groundbreaking and construction for the new school is expected to start in February or early March. The old building is expected to be torn down in the next month or so.
Elementary, as we've shared, is in desperate need of a renovation. It's over 100 years old. It was on the bond that failed in 2024. There was a lot of tears here the next day. That was hard news for this school community. So we're really excited for what this could mean for them, and we've intentionally planned that this would be ready to go right off the bat. So kids would be transitioning to a temporary school site in December and January, and we would begin this process right away.
Of course, that interview you just heard right there was with Tim Pham a few months back on the actual election day when Together Spokane was eventually passed. But this is the first of many projects that will start this year because of Together Spokane. Other projects include a new trade school, an expansion at the Merkel Sports Complex, amongst many other things that will start to get underway. But for now, reporting live here in Spokane, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
Right now here in Spokane, we're 36 degrees. Feels like, though, 28. We actually have a little bit of light wind that's moving its way through that is going to make that 36 feel much cooler. So grab a jacket, a windbreaker if you have it. Other than that, we're mostly clear, at least here in the Spokane Coeur d'Alene area. And across the region, pretty much everybody is above freezing. The only spot that isn't now is Moses Lake has now dropped to below freezing this morning. Enjoy these above freezing temperatures, though, because by tomorrow, our overnight temperatures are cooling down and we end up below freezing. Similar here, we've got 40 degrees here in Spokane today, but that's the warmest we'll be over the next few days.
The future of shellfish is becoming murky as oceans rapidly become more acidic. Washington shellfish farmers are sounding the alarm. 15 years ago, the acidic levels in the ocean nearly wiped out West Coast oyster farming as the water corroded oyster shells. To survive, shellfish farmers were forced to mitigate, investing in research, water treatment systems, and programs to breed more resilient oysters. A rise in acidic levels happens when CO2 emissions are absorbed into the water, changing the ocean's pH chemistry and its ecosystem.
We didn't fix the problem. You know, ocean acidification is still there. It's getting worse, and it's going to continue to get worse as long as we don't wean ourselves off of fossil fuels.
The EPA's National Center for Environment Economics forecasts higher shellfish prices if the current rates of ocean warming and acidic levels continue to rise.